Let's wait for a minute, maybe. Let's send the links in different channels. I want the YouTube link. YouTube. Uh, does anyone have the YouTube link? Please. I will check Twitter. Okay, this was where did you send it? Here. Okay. There. Okay, I just sent the link. Let's wait for a minute, maybe. Um, I don't know if someone is already watching. Hello, my name is Leandro. Okay, can anyone check the Telegram group
Okay.
and the YouTube?
I will. I'm looking at.
Okay.
Page.
Thanks. Okay. Someone just entered the room looking for me and it was not available. Okay, so uh, let's start. So this demo will be recorded, so I hope everyone enjoys it. The idea for today is to give a small status update on how we're doing on the Madara Explorer project. Also to discuss those updates and show a demo of what we've been doing, and also discuss the next steps. Um, with that, we will try to cover the work that we did over the last few weeks and what we'll be doing in the next 2 weeks, maybe. So, let's see, to start, this project that we call Madara Explorer was part of a big was a part of a bigger project that we called Standard Stack. That the idea of the Standard Stack is to have the possibility to have your own stack running a sequencer, a watcher that can make the proofs, a verifier, and also an explorer. We made some work on the Madara Explorer for the standard CC in Paris, and after the standard CC in Paris, we stopped working on that because we had gotten to a point that it was a good place to stop. But in the last weeks or in the last month, we saw that there were some interest in this and on the idea that we had for the Explorer. So in the last week, we decided to retake the project. So that's why we have some updates now, and why we didn't have updates before. So in this last week, we've been working in different features that we have mocked. So we start unmocking some features. We start replacing the feeder gateway that was deprecated or is going to be deprecated because many of these features were working with the feeder gateway, and now we're working directly with an RPC. Sometimes the idea for this explorer is to work with any StarNet RPC compatible L2 or L3. So you can have your own Explorer for whatever you want. So we did a lot of work on that, on connecting these new features and the features we already have using RPC with the standard that the StarNet has. Uh, and to stop using the feeder gateway that will be deprecated. The only thing that we, at the moment, we are not replacing from the feeder gateway are some features that are not available, like the fee from the blocks and the execution resources. That info, to be honest, we don't know how to get that information, but we will see. But all the information we're working on getting it from the RPC. So we work a lot with the block pages, with the transactions, messages, and events, with the pages and with the detail. What we still didn't work much is with the homepage. Uh, I think that it's not the best idea not to work on the homepage because it's the first thing you see, but the homepage has some features that we will discuss later on how we will address that because it has some analytics and some information that needs to be computed. So we will discuss that later after the demo. So now I don't know if I missed some information. Anyone remember?
No.
Okay, so now I will start sharing my screen. Let me check how. This is the. Okay, I hope you're seeing. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Let me know.
Yes.
Okay, so as I mentioned, this is pretty similar from what we have. We have the block's height and the TPS here calculated, but then this information is the one that is mocked, that we will discuss that later. We can change in the net that we are. You can go to mainnet or you can go to testnet. And then you have blocks and transactions. I think that's pretty all the information that it's the most important info. If you enter a block, you get the detail of the block. You can see transactions from the block. The first inbox, if you can go to the transaction directly, I will show that later. You have some message logs. Okay, I was lucky and I got a log with different kind of messages from L2 to L1 and L1 to L2. This was a hard thing to address. Maybe later we can explain something about this, but it was not trivial. It was not trivial to collect the info from the messages from L1 to L2. The L2 to L1 was, I think, easy. L1 to L2, not so much. And then we have events, different events with name. This also, we have some names and we have some hashes. We can discuss it later also. And we're working on, it's like a reverse engineering on the responses of the RPC that we're doing. So we still, maybe if you enter a transaction, now I will show a transaction, maybe depending on the transaction type or depending on the version, if it is Cairo 1, Cairo 0, or Cairo 2. I know if you have some Cairo 2. You have some info, and in some cases, we still have like a not supported label that shows that this is a work in progress, and we will have that feature later. So this is for the blocks. If I go to any transaction, I had a good transaction there. Uh, this is a transactions. We have different types of transactions. I want handlers inbox. I will enter the last one and hoping to get lucky. We have this info almost that here we have the not supported that I mentioned before, but we're fine with that. We're working on that. This is maybe because it's some proxy contract that okay, it's not supported yet, but we're working on that. But here, everything we almost everything we had before it was like mocked, and we work a lot to unmock this. This is the real info. The only thing that remains mocked, I think, is the execution resources. We have that information. It's not that we don't have it, but it is still coming from the feeder gateway. So we need to think if we show it or if we don't. Maybe we can add it and hope the feeder gateway not to get deprecated. But at the moment, the info we have is that it will be deprecated. On these transactions, we have events, or this one don't have events. I will show another one. This one don't have messages. Internal calls, it's mocked. It's the one thing that remains mocked on the transactions. I will look for transactions with more info. Let me check. I had one here that still didn't send me. As an example, I'm pasting a transaction. There, I just changed the transaction to have one with different calls. The previous one says here that not supported, that we support many calls, but they, if they are a proxy, we don't yet. And here I have this one don't have events neither. If someone can help me looking for a transaction with some events, or I can go directly. Well, I can show directly these two tabs. Classes here, we still don't have it. We have blocks, we have transactions, we have messages, we have events. We don't have classes and we don't have contracts, right?
Right.
So let's see messages. Here, as we previously saw on the blog detail, we have the messages, and here we have the transaction where that message is. So if I go to
No, I need those.
this one, okay,
Yeah, transaction board. Yeah.
yeah. Here I'm on the transaction, and if I go to the message log tab inside the transaction, I have the event there, the message there, and this one don't have events, but I will get one. I don't know if I have a good internet because
Events in the transaction.
sorry.
Yeah, we don't have events in the
We don't have
tab.
events on the transaction yet. Okay, sorry, my bad.
Just in the block.
Okay. We need to add this. It won't be difficult because we have that info.
Yeah.
But we have the events tab directly.
That's mock 2.
Okay. Sorry. That's mock 2. The events are only shown for real inside the block. I can use I can use this directly also, like a search bar there, and go directly to a blog. The usability is not the best at the moment, but we will address that also. Here I have events. Sorry for the previous mistake, but this information that we have here is just a matter of getting that this feature to work on another tab, and we have it. I think that's it. I don't know if I'm missing anything that we should remark.
The message details page is also there. If you go to a message hash and click it,
Okay, yeah, thanks. If I go to the message tab and I can enter some message, and we have the info here of the message. As I mentioned before, we're working on this. We have some difficulties into this reverse engineering thing that we had to do, but we're working on that. It's not difficult.
Just plumbing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say that that's the case. We at some moment we know where to look for the information. In some other cases we don't know and we have yet to learn. And in some other cases we have the information and we have to build the screen to show it. We are in different stages in different parts of the application.
well, that's it for the demo and for what we did. Now we'll have a moment to discuss where to go. Aki, I think you have something like already on that.
I can elaborate. So, as you've seen, most of the things that are on the front page, well, not most, but many, and many of the most useful things that are mocked. One of the reasons they're mocked is because on the front page, what you usually want to show are aggregate values, right? The values or information on the global status of the chain, like the total number of transactions or the total value locked, and so on. And you can see them in two ways, like as an absolute value and also with a historical value. So for the absolute value, you still need the entire history. And for the others, you need to have at least the recent history so that you can graph it. And what we have right now is a situation in which when we started building it out with the UI, what would happen is for everything that you could actually show, which was easy for like, let's say a single block, a single transaction, you could just go to the RPC API, ask for that, get it, and render it, right? So, and then when we noticed that, well, that doesn't scale, obviously, but it was, just to get the wheels rolling, we decided to change the focus and do another iteration on the data model behind what you're actually seeing rendered by the Explorer. So the idea is that now all the views and everything the Explorer shows you will be shown from its local database. That will make it more usable, snappier. It will enable more complex queries, a more complex data representation, but it's just like a functional rendered view of the database. And then somehow that database has to get populated. So that's where another system that comes in that will listen to new blocks, fetch the data, derive any data that needs to be derived from what you get from the RPC API, and then populates the database with that. So I would say that our first or our next major issue is to do that small refactor behind the scenes, which is not something that will be reflected on what you actually see, but it's important because it's in one fell swoop we can get rid of a lot of stuff that's still mocked instead of attacking them one by one and seeing how we're going to get that data in. So that's kind of like a technical tangent on why we did it the way we did and what we're changing. And then after that we'll go and actually render on the homepage the things that are missing. For example, the total classes, messages, contracts, events, the historical graphs for transactions and TVL, and so on. And then after that, once the homepage is a bit more usable and you can get a good sense of the global status of the chain, there are other things inside. For example, within the transaction view for a single one, we still have some mock data. We have that issue where we want to get data that isn't that is only in the feeder API. We obviously want to render the classes, the contracts, and then eventually analytical analysis data. So, for example, top contracts, top counts, and so on. And as well, likely that one of the first use cases for the Explorer will be to use it as a development tool for when you're developing your own contract or you're developing your own application or developing an L3 on top of the StarkNet. So being able to inspect the state of those contracts and so on will be, important and very useful. So in a broad overview, let's say that we're aiming to improve the data model so that it's will be more useful and more performant. Second, improve the architecture and render on the front page, the home page, the useful data, and then move into more detailed views and queries. Oh, and one thing that's important that I forgot is to have a functional search bar, which is currently not working either.
I want to add that as a side effect of improving how we model the data or the data model, we make the whole project more flexible, and as long as you respect and use the RPC standard from StarkNet, you can use your Explorer for an L3 not only for local development, for everything you can imagine.
As long as you code in Elixir.
Okay. Someone, I think that's all. Want to add anything? Okay. Thanks again for the. It was pretty clear for me at least. Yeah, thank you. So next steps, as like I said, we will continue working on this and giving more updates, hopefully. I want to thank you also to all the people that worked in this project. We are not all in here. We have many people working before and in the last weeks on this. And also thanks to the ones that people from other companies or friends that tried the Explorer, people from Madara, Kakarot, we discussed a lot with them on some features, and I think that that was pretty useful for us. And we owe them a lot of features, so we will continue working. And so I think that's it. Thank you all. I don't know if you have on YouTube something. Okay. Okay. So I'll end the stream. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Happy Friday.